The get was written during the day and signed during the day. That means it had the same date. The day that it was dated, this day was signed. Balayla v'nechtam balayla. It was written at night and signed at night. Balayla v'nechtam bayom kosher. In all these situations, the writing and the signing were on the same day. Bayom v'nechtam balayla. What about if it was written during the day? That means the date is not the same day as it was signed. Posul. Tanakam says it's posul. Reb Shimon Machshir. Reb Shimon validates it. Even though the signing and the writing were not on the same day, it's valid. Reb Shimon Omer kol hagittin shenichtu biyom v'nechtu balaylo. Now over the word gittin means all documents that are written during the daytime and signed at night, psulin, apostle, chutz migittin noshim, except for divorce documents.
But we're talking about predated means when they
well, that's the equivalent of predated document.
When they wrote it.
It was written, it was dated, let's say it was dated the 1st, it was signed on the 2nd. Now let's say it was a deed. Well, let's say it's a loan document. It was a loan document. So when was the loan document given from the lender to the borrower? After it was signed. From the borrower to the lender, after it was signed. Right? So, but the date, so if it was after it was signed, but what's the date? The date's the previous date. The previous day. So let's say now the borrower can't pay the debt. So and he owned properties on the day that it was dated, but not on the day that the actual loan took place. So the creditors have no right to that property. There's no lien. Right? This is the equivalent of a predated document. So it's possible. It's not valid. It's a legal document. That's what Shim is saying. But the gittin notion that it's not a monetary document, it's okay. So the Gemara says, so what's the machlok of Shimon and Tanakama? Tanakama says, no, we treat it the same. Okay? So Rashi says, no, this has nothing to do with Lishma. This is not Lishma. No. We're talking about dating. It's a predated document. A predated document, all documents that predated are not valid. Shimon says a get which is predated is valid. So here Rashi says, what's the reason why Reb Shimon says it's valid by Kiti Noshim? The lavdo gavaina abido. Right? Its purpose is not to collect money. It's not a monetary document. Therefore, there's no reason to invalidate it. So we have to send the Tanakama. So what's Tanakama validated? Okay? So that's the Gemara. Correct.
But what if it takes 3 days to write it down? When does the document come into effect? Does it come into effect?
No, document, no. Let's say it's a loan document. It's a loan document. So if it's a loan document, it's when actually the loan takes place. Well, the borrower is not going to give, the lender is not going to take the document unless it's this proof that he gave him the money. If it's not a signed document, he has no proof he gave him the money, correct? It's only a witness document.
So what difference when it's written? Why is it
That either they have to leave the date out. They have to leave the date out. But we'll see, the Gemara is going to ask a question later. Let's say you send a get, and it takes a month for the get to arrive. So there, the date, the Gemara was speaking about a get, according to Tanakama, was saying, seemingly the presumption is, of course, when it's signed, right, that's when it was given. But what about if, factually it wasn't given? It wasn't given until much later, because it was delivered. It's not retroactive. It's not retroactive. It's not she's not divorced till she receives the get.
So even though it's signed and it takes 3 months to get there. So
the Gemara is going to ask it on Yudches. We'll see. The Gemara asked the question. Itmar. If a get is not a monetary document, what's the basis to collect? You have a ksuba. The ksuba definitely is a monetary document. There you have a date, right? But the ksuba is at the time when they get married. So it's irrelevant when she's divorced. So why do you have to have a date in the get? Let's say a woman presents a get. She's divorced. She's divorced. She has a right to collect the ksuba. So now she presents another document, the ksuba document. So they'll look at the date on the ksuba document from when are the properties liened, right? So we understand in the ksuba you need a date. But what do you need a date in the get? That's the Gemara's question. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Mishum Basachoso. Rabbi Yochanan says because if a man's married to his niece and if she should commit adultery, so if the document's not dated, he'll give her the document, the undated document, and then she'll present the document. She will say she committed adultery after she already received the document, right? Because it's not dated. Witnesses will come testify on such a date she committed adultery. The husband, who's the uncle, is concerned for the welfare of his niece. Although he's upset, he'll write her this get, and with that get, she'll be able to save her life. She'll present it, she'll say, well, my husband already had divorced me before that act took place. But if it's a dated document, correct? So then she can't, right? So the Gemara is going to ask, what about he writes a document without a date? Right, because the halacha is, the Gemara is going to ask on Amud Beis, a document without a date is a valid document. I mean, even if there's a child, the child's not a mamzer. So Gemara says, l'chatchila, not why. So Rashi explains, we'll see, witnesses will not sign on a document that has no date. Since they legislated a get has to have a date, Adam will not sign on a document unless it has a date on it. Even though it's possible to work it out somehow, to finagle it, but under normal circumstances, it's not to be concerned. So this issue of basachoso is going to be nearly impossible, because the husband won't be able to secure a document or to acquire a document which has no date on it.
Can the alien write a date on the document?
So the Gemara asks the question, what happens if he has a date, David? And then afterwards, the woman goes, or the husband shaves off the date. Just shaves off the top of the document, right? So he can do that also. Initially, so he'll have the document written with the date.
Then you're tampering with the get.
So what? It's still a valid get. Even if you cut it off, it's still a valid get.
I thought that the get has to be all. But
No, but it's no worse than documents written without a date, right? So Rashi and Tosfos, they argue what exactly happens over there. Okay?
So the issue here is Rabbi Yochanan is saying that it should have predated on it.
Not predated. The reason why they legislated a date on the document, although it's not monetary, because it's not a monetary issue, it's a question of if she should commit adultery, the husband should not write a document, a get, just to protect her. Okay?
Unsigned get.
No.
Undated get.
Undated get. A date which doesn't have a date. Reish Lokasham Misham Perus. The husband has Nechse Maluk, right? The property she brings into the marriage, he receives the benefits of those properties, the income, the proceeds of the properties, whether it's an orchard, a vineyard, or whatever it may be, or a piece of property, the income goes to the husband. The question is, when does he leave that? When does he lose that income? Okay? So Reish Lakish says Mishum Peiros. So what's the problem? If you say the husband only loses his rights once it's signed, so that means the husband is going to lose if it's signed the day earlier. What does the woman claim? That the people he sold let's say the produce to have no right to the produce. That's what they're going to say.
For that day.
For that day,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So that's what they're going to say. So therefore, as a result of that, that's the reason why if the date, the signing, and the signature is not on the same. Right now we're talking about the concept. What do you have to have a date? If it had no date, the husband could actually victimize the woman.
Right.
He'll say that what? That he gave her a date to get at a later date. He already sold off the produce. So she's going to say, no, I received it earlier. So what are we going to say? Hamas Chavela Varaya. The burden of proof is on her. He has the upper hand, and she's out of all that. You have a date, so then we're able to understand when she received it. Okay? When he forfeited his rights. The Gemara is going to discuss when does he lose his rights. Is it when the document is signed, or even when it's dated? The moment it's written, that's already nosan ein of legarsha. When he revealed his intent to divorce her, even though the get wasn't actually given, he already loses his rights.
Even though he didn't sign?
Even if it wasn't signed. That's the reason why. If it was written at night, it was written during the day and signed at night, although the get wasn't given till maybe the next day, it's not a problem. The woman already has the right to the usufruct, to the profits, because he revealed his intent that he wants to divorce her.
But Rabbi, we talked about this before, Chaim. I don't understand if he changed his mind, he never gave it a get. How can a get that he never gave and never signed have any...
The Gemara, no. Here we're talking about he did sign it. Ultimately it was signed. It was signed. The Gemara makes a question, what about a person who has a rocky marriage? Figures like this, you know what he's going to do? He'll have a get written up, and he has it dated and signed. He says, wait and see. Wait and see. You know, if things get better, I'll destroy it. If things don't get better, it'll be ready to be given immediately. The Gemara asks this question on Yudches Omer. The Gemara says, Lo magdim inish prunas l'nafshi. A person normally doesn't bring, unless a person is ready to divorce his wife, it's remote that a person will write such a document. Because the Gemara asks, let's be concerned. So I'm saying certain situations we don't have to be concerned about. Because unless a person is ready to do something, he doesn't do something.
We're talking about situations that the get is dated and signed. So if he doesn't give it that day, the get's gone. It's useless.
Why is that?
Because you can't give her a get tomorrow and date it today, can you?
Why not? Well, that the Gemara doesn't ask that. The Gemara doesn't ask that. The Gemara doesn't, but it's a good question. It's a question. But factually, if you're concerned about the adultery issue, maybe she committed adultery after it was written and signed.
Same day.
So the Gemara doesn't answer because when you send a get, once it's signed, word gets out. Word gets out that the get has been launched.
What if he writes and signs a get, puts it in his pocket, and then gives it to her 2 years later?
It's something which is remote. We're not concerned about that. That usually doesn't happen. We're not concerned about that particular situation.
You know, if he has a rocky marriage, he wants to have a get just in case.
So the Gemara says a person, even if he has a rocky marriage, he doesn't do it. A person doesn't introduce tragedy into a situation. When he's ready, he'll act on it at that moment. That's what the Gemara says.
Coming from abroad, there's no such thing as a call.
I know. No, the Gemara says there is a call. The Gemara speaks about it. There's a call. There's a call in the community. In the community where it's been written, word gets out from that community. And it becomes public knowledge that something has been done.
She's in another place.
No, I understand that, but if you want to trace, there's enough information that's available because of what took place in the community that the get was written. We'll see the one Yudches.
What about an extra careful husband who gets married and he tells his wife, I'm drawing up a get.
The person normally doesn't do
I'm keeping
it.
in a drawer in case things go.
I know. Okay, go awry. The person, we'll see. The Gemara says the person normally doesn't do that. Okay,
But if one person does it,
we'd have to be concerned for one person.
It has to be common. It seems like it'd be a common thing where someone would write a get and say, you know, I don't want to give it, and just not dispose of it. And
It's not. It's not common. The Gemara says it's not common. You speak to anybody today who gives a get, or the ones who write given. You ask them from the time it's written until it's given, how long does it take? It's usually in that sitting itself.
I mean, what I've heard is that they do it all at the same time. And
Why?
everyone's in the room at the same time.
For that reason.
To avoid this.
Whatever it's because it's just the nature. It's in nature.
Writes up a get and keeps in his.
No. That's not the reason. That's not the reason. I mean, there are many other reasons. Okay. Reish Lakish, my Talmud Omer Rabbi Yochanan. Why does Rabbi Yochanan, Reish Lakish reject Rabbi Yochanan's position? Mishum Basachos seems to be a good question, right? A man's married to his niece. His niece commits adultery. So if she has a get that's undated, she'll say that she committed adultery after she received the get. She had this illicit relationship. Amaloch znus lo shchicha. A woman committing adultery is something which is remote, which is uncommon. Okay? So therefore, to legislate something specific for that, they don't. So there's important Tosas here. So Tosas points out, what does it mean, zchus lo shchicha? It's uncommon that a woman doesn't commit adultery. A woman does commit adultery. Where do you see that? Pirush nus be'edim asra lo shchiach. We're speaking, why is the uncle writing to get on behalf of his wife? Because witnesses are going to come, and they're going to test her she committed adultery, she's been put to death. But if she has the get, undated get, she'll say she had the illicit relationship after she received the get. Now, let's say she was never forewarned. She can be put to death, correct? So if that's the case, so what's uncommon? Not that a woman commits adultery, it may even be testimony. But there was hasro, that all the criteria to put it to death are in place. That Rish Lakish holds is something which is uncommon. How do you know that? But to say that illicit adultery is something which is so remote we don't take into consideration, that you can't say. Why can't you say it? Because it's a Mishnah. Right? A virgin when she's married, the Mishnah says in the first Mishnah Ksubis, when does a virgin get married? She gets married on Wednesday. Wednesday during the daytime. Why does she get married Wednesday during the daytime? Because factually there was a hiatus between the Kedushin and Nisuin 12 months. So if she was a psula, and let's say when he consummates the marriage, he finds she's not a psula, she's not a virgin. What does that mean? It's not so simple. Maybe she committed adultery, right? Because she's already a married woman from time of Kedushin. So between Kedushin and Nisuin, she may have committed adultery. What happens if he has a relationship, finds out she's not a virgin? And let's say it would be, let's say Tuesday. She was married on Tuesday. When does the court convene? The court convened on Mondays and Thursdays. So if the court convenes on Mondays and Thursdays, so unless the court is immediately available from the largest complaint when he's upset, time passes, somehow it dissipates. And if he dissipates, what happens? He's not coming to court. So if he's married on Tuesday and he finds it not to be a psula, a virgin, he's not coming on Thursday. Because there's a chance, because there's a day interruption, he may not come. But if it's Wednesday and he consummates the marriage Thursday night, and he's upset because he finds she's not a virgin, he's come to Bezdin immediately Thursday morning. But if you tell me this is lo shchiach, why worry about it? It's something which is so uncommon. The answer is, we're not saying it's so remote it never happens. It happens, but to meet all the criteria to be able to put it to death with asra, that's lo shchiach. That's what Rish Lakish is rejecting. So to make a special takana, special legislation of Zman date for that reason, it's not sufficient reason. Okay?
Rabbi Yochanan would hold that it is common.
It's common enough.
Common enough.
Common enough that we have taken into consideration.
So then why would, right, so that he would hold that you need a host of,
No, that's why you need it.
So
to
why
come
not
to,
a regular couple?
because a regular husband couldn't care less about his wife if she's put to death.
So
There's only because there's a niece.
Right, so we're not worried about a host of or a regular.
Regular, even Rabbi Yochanan is not concerned. Rabbi Yochanan is not concerned about a regular couple. The husband is getting, Rabbi Yochanan, even a regular woman, also is not concerned.
The husband won't give.
Yeah, she committed adultery, let her be killed. But for his niece, there's some degree of compassion. But we're not finished with Tosis yet. Now, what happens if he cools down and he doesn't go to court and he continues to live with her? Who's he living with? He's living with an adulteress. So he's not permitted to be with her. So that means for the rest of his life, he's going to be in violation of what? A Torah violation. Because a man's wife is an adulteress, he's not permitted to be with her. So therefore, we're talking about two different things. That's what Tosa points out. The Chashin L'Krui Daita U'Mistavro. Now, and he says it's logical to say the Tvei Yikol Amecha Shem Etizneim L'Shem Zinso. It's more like she may commit adultery, not that she may have committed adultery.
Who are we talking about here? Regular wife?
No, we're talking about the wife. No, with the niece.
Definitely.
Yeah, she may commit adultery in the future. See, you know what he does? He writes a get in reserve. Then in case that happens, she'll have it to protect herself. Now we're coming to address Rish Lakish. Why is Rish Lakish rejecting it? Why? We see from the Mishnah that we are concerned. Tosas first said because what's remote that there should be Asura. Tosas is not something else. You know, this reminds you of Tosas that Bezom and Aleph Psochim. If you have Basa B'cholov, which is Yisrael, no, you don't have to dispose of it. There's no obligation to dispose of it. But the halacha is that even if you mafki your chometz, you mavato your chometz, you're not permitted to possess it during Pesach. So Tosas asks why. Why is there rabbinic provision to possess chometz, and there's no rabbinic provision to possess other Yisur Hano? So those says, because chometz, we eat chometz all year, so therefore there's a concern, as you eat it all year, you may end up eating it on Pesach. The expression, lo b'dilim, a person's not separated from it. Something like basar b'cholav, a person never eats. Once it's classified as basar b'cholav, a Jew keeps away from it. Wine becomes yain nesach. A Jew keeps away from it. He's not going to, right? He sees it as something which is off limits.
So why does he keep it?
He didn't get disposed of it right away. No, there should be a provision. He didn't dispose of it yet. He will dispose of it eventually, but he didn't dispose of it yet. There should be a provision immediately. He has to dispose of it.
Right.
Right? Chometz immediately. He's not permitted to possess it. So the same thing over here, he's making a differentiation. This is Rabbi Yochanan, Reish Lakish. Hosav avagav lo shchiach. The Mishnah in Ksubis, although it's something which is remote, v'choshu shlo te'ose olav olomis v'yitvesen v'yiser. He doesn't go to Bezdin that Thursday morning, and factually she committed adultery, as remote as it may be. He's continuously in violation of the Yisr of living with indulgence for the rest of his life. You understand? He says, Chazal are not concerned. Well, she may be deserving the death penalty and deserves to be put to death. Why? It's lo shchiach. It's uncommon. That the woman's going to commit adultery, something which is uncommon. So to make a takona for that, but here, even though it's lo shchiach, but factually, if she is an adulteress, what's the problem? He continues to be with her for the rest of his life. And because it's the Isser Olomis, it becomes a problem. Interesting, there's somebody told me he heads the organization Izmit Zion. His name's Hanani Cholak. So when Rav Shach was already much older, he may have been 100 years old. Shach lived till he was 107. So every day he would go spend time with him, help him put on his tefillah and help him daven, because he was close with him years earlier. So one day Rav Shach breaks down crying, and he says he's going to have to give a din v'cheshbon. What is he going to have to give a din v'cheshbon? That he remembers like 60, 70 years earlier, or 80 years earlier, his wife once did an internal examination, and he remembers he ruled that it was okay. But now he's questioning, maybe it wasn't okay. Yeah? So he's worried. And he may give a din v'cheshbon. Okay? So of course this was Rav Shach, every little thing, this is what we call yiras chet. You're always worried, as well as you do something, you never know, maybe somehow. But I'm saying, a person, let's say, had a psak that something was okay, and it wasn't okay. And he continues to lives with his wife. And let's say she becomes pregnant. Or he paskins himself. Well, let's say somebody ruled for him. And factually, it wasn't a proper ruling. And his wife gets pregnant now. So when a woman's pregnant, she doesn't menstruate. But factually, when she went to the mikveh before she became pregnant, she was really a nida. Right? So now, until that child's born, when he has relationships with his wife, it's not proper. Although he himself believes she's okay. Right? It's an ongoing problem. Right? So there's an achrayus, there's a responsibility, and whoever gives the ruling, it's not a one-time deal. If you rule that it's permitted, that it's not a problem, and the person continues with his wife, even for 30 days, that ongoing relationship, whoever gave that ruling is responsible for that ruling, for the ramifications of that ruling. So he's saying over Chazal made a takon, even Reish Lakish agrees. As remote as it may be, but if it's a question that it's going to be an ongoing problem for the rest of his life, as remote as it may be, we're going to take that in consideration. But if it's a question of one-time thing, she committed adultery, or were you concerned that the uncle will write a get to protect her, it's remote, we're not concerned. And we're not concerned. Whether she lives, she dies, doesn't make a difference to us. Okay. Rabbi Yochanan, my Talmud Omar, Reish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan says it's because of Basachoso. Reish Lakish says because of Peros. Rabbi Yochanan, my Talmud Omar, Reish Lakish. K'sov yesh l'bal Peros ad shas nesino. Yeah. So even though the get was dated and signed on 2 different days, it's not a problem. Because when does the husband lose his rights to the payros? Only when she's divorced. Until she's divorced, he has the rights. So well, why should he forfeit it? Right? Why should we invalidate the get? But if the issue is basachoso, so that's the reason why we need a zman, we need a date in the document. Okay? So more says, Bishlom Reish Lakish Mishamochi Komachsher Reb Shimon. According to Reish Lakish, why does Reb Shimon, why does he validate the get? Although the signing and the writing was not on the same day. Right? The Tanna Kama says the get's pasul, and Reb Shimon says it's kosher. It was written on one day, signed on the next day. The equivalent of predated get. It says, according to Reish Lakish, Reb Shimon, what does that mean? Because what's the argument? When does the husband lose his rights? Is it when he intends to divorce her? Or is it what? When the get is signed. So Shimon says, when he already had in mind to divorce her, that's already enough time, that's enough reason for it to forfeit. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, if the issue is basachoso, if it's a predated get, maybe she, in that interim period, she may have committed adultery. And she's going to present the document, what? To protect herself. So what does Reb Shimon, why does he validate the get? Right? My time to Reb Shimon the Machshir. Omadar Reb Yochanan. So Reb Yochanan says, I'll leave the Reb Shimon lo kamina. That I'm offering the rationale is basa choso, that's not according to Reb Shimon. That's according to the Tanna Kama. Because in fact, if it's predated even for one day, she may have committed adultery. Ki kamina levi drabonon. When I'm offering the reason of basachosa, that's according to the Chachomim. So if it's signed, if it's dated on one day and signed the next day, it's not valid for that reason. Okay? Somewhere says like this. So according to Reb Yochanan, why, if it's signed on one day, if it's written on one day, signed next, why is it possible? Basachosa. According to Reb Shimon, why is it possible? What's the reason? Mishanos and of Lagarsha. It's because when he had in mind to divorce her, so that's why it's kosher. So much Bishlum Reb Yochanan, Hainu Dika Bein Reb Shimon Rabbanon. That is the basis for the argument between Reb Shimon and Chachomim. According to Chachom, it's basachoso. So therefore, it's written on one day, signed the next day. That's the reason why it's possible. El Reish Lakish, but according to Reish Lakish, the whole issue is only forfeiting the rights to the payros. Ma'ika Bein Reb Shimon Rabbanon. Right? What's the basis of the argument? Why, according to Reb Shimon, if it's written on one day, signed next day, is it valid? According to the Chacham, it's not valid. So Mar says, that's the argument. According to Reb Shimon, the moment they write the get, although it was not signed, that's enough reason for him to forfeit it. According to the Chacham, it has to be signed. Until it's signed, he does not forfeit the right. Okay? There's no other way to understand the machlokas. And we'll see Tosin Amar Aleph. According to Reb Shimon, who holds Edi Masira Karsi, that the get without signatures is valid. So good. So the moment it's written, it's ready to go. So since the husband could utilize that get presently, that's enough reason for him to forfeit the payros. The Chachomim say no, since factually you're going to put signatures on it, and it's not going to be used till the signatures are put on the get, therefore it's not sufficient intent for him to forfeit the rights to the payros. It will see Tosis. So Moshe says, well, we find to the contrary, Rabbi Yochanan Shlokish, they have contrary opinions. Dietmar. Me'imosai motziin. Me'imosai motziin lepeiros. From when does the husband forfeit the payros? Rabbi Yochanan Mishas Ksivo. Rabbi Yochanan says Mishas Ksivo. Reish Lakish Mishas Nesino. On that, the more says Epoch. Okay? Invert the opinions. Let's see some of the Tosis. Get back to this. Amar Aleph. let you know in a second. The name Atiknus man begitten. Right, the Gemara's question. Why did they legislate a date on the get?
Which section? I don't know.
The wide lines, second Tosas in the wide lines.
Name up.
Lo matzleme tiknu zman kede shtucha lotze isha min abal mizon shelovso ve'ochlo kodem zman hakosu beget. Shelo yochol lomar lo girashtich mikodem lechein. He says something interesting. Let's say a woman, when she's married, she borrows money because she says the husband didn't support her. The husband has to reimburse those lenders, the creditors. If you don't have a date in the get, you know what the husband will say? I gave her the get before she borrowed the money. She wasn't my wife. So what did the Gemara say? Since the husband's obligated to support his wife, and let's say he did not, so you need a date, because when she presents the get, she'll show the loan took place prior, and the get took place later. So that's the reason why. One say simple. So the otherwise, he could say, I divorced you before you even borrowed the money. Because the woman is believed. Why she believed? You know, she has a migu. Interesting migu. Here, David, the migu. The question was, the reason why they had to legislate as man beget, because the husband would say that I gave her the get before she borrowed. So she wasn't my wife. He says, the woman... What?
No, before she borrowed.
Before she borrowed. Right? So she wasn't my wife. But now you have a date. She what? He can't say that. Because the get says the lenders, the creditors were before, and the get's later.
Should the loans be on the same timeline?
One second. So Tosa says, what would be, she has the get, the case without a date, and she puts away the get. And she claims she's not divorced. I mean, how does the husband prove that he divorced her? No, you have to have a get. Let's say there's no get. If she wants to collect, she goes to Beis and says, I borrowed money from my husband, on behalf of my husband because he wasn't supporting me, and he has to repay the creditors. Husband say, I divorced her. He's not believing he divorced her. Because the Gemara says in Bava Basra, although a person believes he divorced his wife, why does a person believe he divorced his wife? Because it's biyodo legarsha. Because at this moment he could write the get. So when she comes and makes the claim against him, he's only believed from this moment going forward. But previously, he's not believed that he divorced her. So since the creditors are from before, so she has amigo, believe me that the get was given to me afterwards without a date, because if I wanted, I could have hidden the get and claimed I wasn't divorced.
Doesn't it get any witnesses?
It has witnesses.
In front of three people. Right?
There's a question. If you hold Eidei Chasima, we had Tosas before in Dav Dalet. You do need, you don't need, it doesn't make a difference. The witnesses don't remember exactly when the date, when they witnessed the giving or didn't witness the giving. They don't remember that. But if you have a document with a date in it, it's clear, and let's say it's signed, she presents the document, it's clear. So Tosa says, even if it has no date, she could just hide the document and claim, I'm not divorced. Believe me that I was divorced, as the document says she's divorced, and I borrowed before the divorce, because if I wanted to be dishonest, I could have just put away the document and claimed I'm not divorced. The husband is believed to say I divorced her, that's only mikan labod, that's only going forward because it's biyod l'garsha. But since the creditors are from prior, they're not believed. The question is, why is this a migul lahotzi? Right? We have a principle that you cannot extract money based on a migul. Right? To be continued.